My shit is on.
Mafia, what's going on? Welcome into the Built in Buffalo post-game show after an exciting, thrilling Buffalo Bills win over the Kansas City Chiefs 28-21. Hey, Rich, initial thoughts. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. Great victory. Great victory. You know, it's a rivalry, budding rivalry for a couple of years now, a number of years now with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And, you know, the season has gone how the season went with the two losses. We got back on the right track and everybody was a little nervous coming into this game. So to get the victory is a big win, man. I'm upset and hurt with the Michael Hoyt injury, but big win nevertheless.
Yeah, we'll get into all that stuff too. Poyer hopefully is not too banged up. We know he's getting up there in age. But how do you feel about the Buffalo Bills defense? Let's start there first. You called it yesterday. Last night on Bills Algae, Akeem said that Max Harrison was going to have a pick, and he had a pick. It was nice. He tracked that ball down. So how do you feel about the Bills defense and how they came out and holding the Chiefs to 21 points?
Watching the Buffalo Bills defense tonight, it gave you hope. It gave you hope, man. It was great to see. And of course, was everything perfect? No, you don't want to give up a 4th and 17, right? You don't want to give up certain things on a long third down to Travis Kelce. You don't want to. There's still some things to clean up, but overall, you saw the energy and the physicality that it was different with the Buffalo Bills defense today compared to what we saw during the course of the season leading up to the Kansas City Chiefs games. Even in the successful plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, you saw some resistance from the defense. It was like, okay, Kansas City made a play, but they earned that play, right? And that's all we can ask for. That's all we can ask for. Let the offense earn it. Let them earn every inch of grass. And a lot today, Kansas City made some plays where guys was open, but a lot of plays they earned today. And I really like that going forward for the Buffalo Bills defense if they can continue to be a nuisance like they were today. Patrick Mahomes under 50%. That's impressive. That's an indictment of the Buffalo Bills defense.
Bills only gave up 305 yards in this game, which a lot of that came the end of the first half drive, and then there was a couple other drives. That 4th and 17, we can talk about that and nitpick and pick that apart. I don't know what Joey Bosa was doing. They're not throwing a screen pass on 4th and 17. Why are you trying to play space and protect for a screen pass? So other than that, I mean, I don't want to nitpick too much. The Bills defense came to play today. Obviously, Michael Hoyt had a good game. Hopefully his injury, I'm hearing it's an Achilles, so hopefully it's not season ending because that would just be devastating, adding on top of all the other injuries with Taron Johnson out, Ed Oliver out. So, I mean, the Bills did what they had to do defensively. Now, offensively, Josh Allen threw 3 incomplete passes today. I think we need to talk about that. It was efficient. We've been asking for a Joe Brady game. Now, there was a couple drives here and there where some plays were kind of wonky, but it looked like things were back on schedule. The Bills were throwing the ball down the field. James Cook was running routes. He may not have been targeted too much, but we saw him out running routes. So what's your thoughts about the game called from Joe Brady? And then we'll kind of piggyback back and forth with the offense and the defense. What was your thoughts about not only just Josh Allen's game? Obviously, James Cook went over 100 again, but Joe Brady's play call today. What's your thoughts?
I think Joe Brady did a damn good job in today's game. Now, of course, was it perfect? Was there things you want to have back? Of course, absolutely. The 4th and 2 screen passes on a couple of drives is something that the 3rd and long screen passes on a couple of drives is something that you want to take back. It's 3rd and 9. We want to see something going down the field as opposed to a 1-yard completion to 𝐬𝐲𝐫𝐿 Shakir. But beyond that, you know, we're not going to get perfection from any offensive coordinator. So throughout the totality of the game, I think Joe Brady did a brilliant job. I think he kept the Kansas City defense on their toes. He was unpredictable today. They ran the ball and was physical up front and a point of attack. The offensive line, once again, Aaron Cromer in the trenches did a phenomenal job. James Cook did a phenomenal job. We're talking about a team in the Kansas City Chiefs that's always stout in the run game. We're talking about a team in the Kansas City Chiefs that didn't have a running back over 100 yards in several games, and James Cook not only eclipsed 100 yards, but he looked damn good doing so. 27 rushing attempts. This is what, and he toughed a lot of those attempts out.
Yeah.
James Cook was hurt. James Cook got banged up early in that game with the ankle, so he showed some grit, he showed some toughness, and he's showing why he's possibly a top 3 to 5 running back in this NFL today. And I really liked just the different nuances in the offense we saw today. It got back with 𝐿 going back in motion, and getting involved early, start to feature him. They got Dalton Kincaid the ball. Now, everybody eats is great, but it should be Cook, Kincaid, 𝐿, and then everybody else.
Right. 100%.
The Buffalo Bills offense should run through those 3 guys in Josh Allen. And when they do so, everything else can open up. We saw some splash plays, a splash play to Dawson Knox today for 30 yards. We saw a splash play to Eli Moore today for 28 yards. We saw a couple of receptions to Curtis Samuel. So the offense should run through those 3 guys, including Josh Allen. And it was a great job what I saw today. It was an unpredictable offense. And was it perfect? No, but it was enough to get the job done. And I love what I seen from Joe Brady in the offense today.
I mean, if you just want to break down stats, and I know stats are stats and there's more to the game. There's the eye test and things like that. But Josh Allen's average completion was 10.5 yards. That's where it needs to be at. I think that's what we've all been asking for, is downfield more than just these 4 or 5 yard routes. Again, like you mentioned, if you look at the box score, James Cook had 27 carries. I can't remember the last time that James Cook had just 27 carries. I don't care if he gets 200 yards, 500 yards, or 100 yards. That means that the Bills are controlling the clock, which they did today. They won the time of possession battle. And then if you start looking at targets, Kincaid had 6 targets and 6 receptions. That was a big thing that we talked about all offseason, was getting Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid on the same page. It seems like he was targeting Kincaid, but they weren't on the same page. So that's nice to see. He went over 100 yards today. 𝐿 had 8 targets and 7 receptions. So yes, there was some stuff. I was complaining early on about the short intermediate stuff, but I feel like that opened up some of the stuff that we saw later in the game. So again, Josh threw to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different guys today. And I feel like if you're going to look at the overarching concept of everybody eats, I guess that's where you start, because if you look at some of the receptions, like Shavers had a 7-yard reception. Curtis Samuel had a 6-yard reception, but it was sprinkling the ball around so that when those guys are on the field, you don't know where the ball's going. And I feel like Josh did a really good job today of being patient in the pocket. I feel like we've complained about having happy feet and he just leaves the pocket way too soon. And today, especially on that first touchdown to Kincaid, like, he stood up there and he's like, all right, I'm going to stand here for an extra second while this play develops. And you saw that as the game progressed. So I like that aspect of, they've obviously been doing some film study. They've been doing some digging on what's worked and what can we make work. So what else? Go ahead.
And it's such, I think it starts where, of course, where we're going to discuss what we saw on the field, but it starts with the coaching and the coaching staff. And I think, once again, when we want to peel back layers and see where everything is coming from, I think it starts with Joe Brady. He did an excellent job. A lot of those guys was schemed open today. Yeah. Right. There was a lot of schemed open plays for that James Cook on the third down to get the first down late in the game. That was, anybody could have been at the running back position for that particular play call. That was schemed open, and it looked hard in the past, where Sean McDermott said everything looked hard in this game. Well, this game here against the Kansas City Chiefs, we got some plays where it looked easy, and it looked easy because of the scheme. And now when the foundation is back in place and is back in order, and everything can be schemed up, now you can combine the individual talent with the scheme. Now you add the running game in there. right? Now what you going to do? Now you're throwing some play action in there, throwing some unpredictability in there, right? Now you're going back in motion and featuring Shakir. Now you're featuring Dalton Kincaid. You're doing a multitude of things that we haven't seen on film throughout the course of the season. Maybe they was holding back plays.
Well, I was just going to say that I feel like as successful as the offense seemed, I feel like they left some points on the field.
Absolutely.
And that I think is encouraging because this was a good team the Bills played today. I don't care what their record was. They were trending in the right direction. I mean, they've been coming off some really good wins where it was decisive. And I feel like the offense did score 28 points, but I feel like they could have at least scored a little bit more, maybe another touchdown or so. So that's good. And I didn't mean to cut off your point because I feel like
you're fine.
You were just getting started there. But
you're fine. You're fine.
To me, this game was needed. I feel like after watching the Carolina Panthers beat the Green Bay Packers, I'm like, what NFL are we in? Like, what is this? Because we were told all week that the Bills win over the Panthers meant really nothing. Okay, the Bills had 7 sacks and James Cook had 200 yards, and it was Andy Dalton and not Bryce Young. That team was fraudulent at 4-3. Blah 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 blah. Well, here we are now, a week later, and we see that the Packers struggled to do anything offensively against the Panthers. The Packers struggled against the Panthers. So I don't know. It's nice to have back-to-back performances offensively where the running game got going last week. We were skeptical about the passing game. The passing game got going this week, and the running game got going this week. So, and let's like you said, let's not get it twisted. The Chiefs are a good team against the run. I mean, the Bills had 100+ yards, and that's not by accident. The Bills got after it. So, you know what I want to say too? I saw that bringing back Alec Anderson more than I think I've seen this season with the 6 offensive linemen. How do you feel about that? Is that something that getting back to the roots of last year and what was successful? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I definitely think it helps, but you know why I think it helps the most is because it adds variation. It gives the opponent another look that they have to be wary of, that they have to be aware of. I think Jackson Hawes is an incredible run blocking tight end, and I think he's going to soon take over that number 2 tight end. I think we're looking at a guy that's going to be with the Buffalo Bills for the foreseeable future because of the dimensions he adds and the grit that he adds to the run game, which is a big proponent to what I think the culture that Sean McDermott wants to bring to the Buffalo Bills. But I just think it was a great job because now it's something else that the opponent have to prepare for. There's more variation. There's another look. It adds more unpredictability to the Buffalo Bills scheme. So yes, it was a great job bringing that variation back into the fold.
I do like that they got back to scoring touchdowns on the opening drive because last week it was field goal, and then obviously the floodgates open. But I do like the fact, yes, it's scripted, but still the Chiefs had a scripted drive too, and the Bills forced them to punt. So I do like the fact that first drive there was a little bit of everything sprinkled in with the big pass to Kincaid there at the end. What's your thoughts on? Let's talk about the defensive line because obviously we know we're missing the big key piece in Ed Oliver, and if he would have played today, that would have been just. I feel like wow, that would have been just something to see. What's your thoughts now? And then we'll kind of bleed this in. Again, we don't have any updates on Michael Hoyt. Hopefully it's not season ending because that will just be.
I think it is. I think his Achilles. I think he tore his Achilles. I think he's done for the season.
Yeah, it's just we just can't catch.
Rough. Can't catch
no
a break.
pun intended. We can't catch a break. So, what's your thoughts on how Joey Bosa played, Greg Rousseau, AJ? I like the hit. How do you feel about the hit AJ Epinesa laid on Mahomes on the sideline? Because you know how Mahomes typically will do that sideline dance, and then he'll just kind of throw the ball. AJ Epinesa was like, "I'm hitting you regardless, so whatever." So what's your thoughts on how the defensive line played today? And you can sprinkle Michael Hoyt in there too.
Absolutely. The defensive line, I think, they did a great job. Kareem Hunt, I was never necessarily worried about the Kansas City Chiefs rushing attack against the Buffalo Bills. Kareem Hunt did have some success coming into the season, especially in short yardage down in distant situations. But I was pleased with how the run defense performed. I was pleased with how the Buffalo Bills was able to get after Patrick Mahomes in certain downs and distances. Of course, he had times in other situations where he was able to survey the field and make some plays downfield. But overall, I really like how the Buffalo Bills was able to get after it, run defense and rushing the passer. This was possibly, in terms of physicality, this was possibly the most physical most physical the Buffalo Bills defense I think been all season. In terms of sheer like brute and being forceful at the point of attack and the way they was able to tackle, we're not having the discussion today about the Buffalo Bills missing tackles and the Buffalo Bills, all these guys are missing tackles. Everybody was in the right place in the right time to make the tackle. They was in the right place at the right time, even when they gave up the play to make a play after they gave up the play. Right? Nothing was over the top in terms of what the Buffalo Bills did defensively that hurt them. And I think they did an overall great job at the point of attack. And I think this was the most physical brand of football they played this season.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. Let's talk about Brandon Codrington for a second. I know this is random, but game day inactive, taking up a roster spot because he was the return guy. He didn't return kicks or punts today because he was inactive. Is this something you see that he might be moved here, or are they just going to keep him on the roster, holding a roster spot and just not using him at all? It's like having 6 receivers on Sunday and we inactive Curtis Samuel or Elijah Moore. You know what I mean? Like he's taking up a roster spot, and I understand Bean spent a draft pick to go get him last offseason. What's your thoughts though? Should they just roll with what they're doing and having Ray Davis return kicks and just Shakir can just fair catch or whatever they're going to do back there? What's your thoughts there? I know it's a random question, but
No, I like the question. That's what I would do. That's what I'll run out with. I'll let Ray Davis continue to kick return. I'll let Khalil Shakir continue to punt return. He gives you the Micah Hyde, Micah Hyde vibe back there. He's safe.
right.
He's going to make the correct play, and sometimes it's going to be deceptive, and he might break one. Right. So I really like what's going on there. The ceiling is not high, but the floor is not low.
Right.
When we come to the special teams kick and punt return. So I like it, man. And at this point, with the injury to Ed Oliver, the injury to Michael Hoyt, the Buffalo Bills being able to show variation and then be able to show that they can indeed move the football with the guys that they do have. I'm at a point where with this trading deadline, let's go and try to improve the football team any way we can. I think, we was talking about receivers, and I would love to add a receiver, but realistically, I think because of the injuries, the defensive line, the defensive front can possibly use an upgrade as well. Yeah. So I think wherever we have a chance to make an upgrade offensively or defensively at this point of the season, I think the Buffalo Bills should take that opportunity to do so. And it's not just about the wide receiver position going forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that defensive tackle / defensive end or defensive line help, I think, is definitely now on the table because you don't know when Oliver's coming back. He thinks playoffs, division round around there. I'm hearing conflicting reports. If Hoyt's done for the year, that's a huge blow because we saw the impact last week. We saw the impact this week. So again, I feel like though, I'm upset about Hoyt, but I feel like there's still a lot of positives to take away from not just last week's game, but this game. We saw the Hairston interception, ball hawking. We saw the defensive line bother Mahomes and not. When was the last time we saw covered sacks? It's been a long time since we've seen a Buffalo Bills defense have a covered sack, and it happened today. So I think it was a full team win today. I feel like complimentary football was had today. I mean, the defense played well. The offense played well. I feel like well / very good. And control the time of possession. That's how you beat a team like the Chiefs. Now, I will say, I'm looking at the AFC standings. The Chiefs are in trouble. And I understand when you say that, you have to like cross your fingers and just do like all kinds of voodoo dances and pretend Andy Reid doesn't hear you, because we've heard that the Chiefs are in trouble before. But if you're looking at the AFC West, the Broncos are 7-2. The Chargers are 6-3, and then you have the Chiefs. Oh yeah, by the way, the Jaguars won today. They're 5-3. You got the Colts still at 7-2. Steelers are 5-3, so technically a half game better than the Chiefs. The Patriots are 7-2, and the Bills are 6-2. So they're on the outside looking in, and it's going to be a super interesting
Boy,
final.
the AFC sounds stacked, man. It sounds like a stacked AFC over there, man.
You know what though? I don't think it is. I feel like it's a crapshoot. I'm not saying I don't believe in Drake May and the Patriots, because they've been piling wins together like crazy.
Yeah,
but
they came down to earth today. Yeah, it's like, okay. It was like, all right, this is they showed themselves. Yeah, they showed themselves. They showed themselves a little bit.
I mean, a missed extra point would have tied that game, and who knows what would have happened after that. But
we should make up the Colts. We should make up the Colts with Pittsburgh and them.
I think Danny Dimes came back down to reality today. He had 3 turnovers in his first 8 games, and then he had 3 today. So I don't know if it was what the defense of the Steelers did. The Steelers had 6 turnovers today. So apparently that's what, Mike Tomlin was preaching all week, was we need to turn the ball over, and they did. So I don't believe in the Steelers. I feel like they're beatable. The Colts, again, people want to see consistency. They want to see them just continue to beat good teams. And when they played a good team, they lost, and they didn't play good at all. So I don't know. I feel I'm concerned about the Broncos, especially if they're going to make moves at the trade deadline. I'm concerned with the Patriots because they've already arrived, and they have a coach and they have a quarterback. And if they make moves, who got injured today? Was it Butte got injured today?
Yeah, hamstring.
So maybe they go get a receiver that they're fighting for the Bills for the same receiver on some team that's trying to unload players. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So what is your biggest, I guess, what's your biggest takeaway from today's game as far as what do you see as like a building block that can be sustainable? And then I'll give you mine, and we'll probably have the same thing because that's how it usually works. Like, what's your biggest takeaway?
Man, the same thing, honestly, I've been preaching. I don't know if it's all season long, but I feel like damn near all season long. The ability to adjust on the adjustments. Right, the offensive side of the ball, it's the ability to adjust, come out and score a touchdown in your first drive. Come out, they ran a blitz, you had an answer for the blitz, you had a hot man, you had a screen. It was an excellent play call, excellent design. They just being unpredictable, going in motion and showing the motion ability where the opposition is going to be in zone or going to be in man, giving Josh Allen more hints and cues to where to place and go with the football. So I think just the overall game plan, I think is a part of the trickle effect into why Josh Allen was 23 of 26. So once again, Joe Brady doing an incredible job today, getting the ball downfield to Dalton Kincaid, featuring 𝐾𝐨𝐴𝐵𝐿 early, running the football with James Cook, featuring your 3 best players on the offensive side of the ball, which was great to see. And defensively, it looked like Sean McDermott was calling plays. We saw resistance. We saw a ferocious defense today in terms of showing their physicality and not missing tackles, being at the right place at the right time. Cole Bishop was all over the field.
Looked really good.
Looked really good all over the field. A number of tackles, a number of pass defense, and showing physicality, being an enforcer as a safety. That guy today that we saw, Cole Bishop, is what we wanted, what we viewed when we drafted him in the 2nd round.
You know what I'm concerned with, though? I feel like he's gotten comfortable because of Jordan Poyer, and I hope to God Jordan Poyer's injury is not serious, because I feel like that's the veteran that he's needed, not just on the field, but in that room, like giving him different things to look at in practice. And Jordan Poyer, for whatever reason, say what you want about the guy, like he's been better than Taylor Rapp, and I think obviously he's better than DeMar Hamlin. He's been serviceable back there, and he hasn't given up big plays, and he's in the right position. And that comes with whatever his body can't do anymore. And we've talked about this before. Whatever his body can't do, his IQ is going to put him in positions to be successful because he knows where to be. And that's why having him with Hyde was such a huge deal for McDermott, because they were so smart at the position. And I feel like the last 2 weeks, and I guess you could say Bishop was maybe trending a little bit on the up direction, but the last 2 games, Cole Bishop's been playing very well at the safety position. And this week, I think we're starting to see why the Bills drafted him. The athletic ability is coming out. And I think it's just a matter of time for the mental aspect to come out, for the game to slow down for him to get the guy that we've all been waiting for. So I didn't mean to steal your thunder on that, but.
And I think a part of that success is keeping him around the football, keeping him around
100%.
keeping him around the football where he can make plays. That is his strength. That's what he does best. And when he's around the football and when he's in the box and he's able to be that rover and do different things, he's able to make plays. And I think he was a beneficiary of it today. You spoke about Jordan Poyer possibly being a big help to Cole Bishop. What about Maxwell Harrison possibly being a help to Christian Benford? Christian Benford, he's been struggling this season. He got a big contract and he didn't look like the same guy he's looked like we saw in the past leading up to this game. But today he had a sack. He was in the backfield. We saw some things from Christian Benford. So I think the addition of Maxwell Harrison is uplifting in the entire secondary. So maybe it's the influx of new bodies like Harrison and Jordan Poyer is being effective and working out, and hopefully it can continue.
What's your thoughts on Harrison? Because if you look at the box score, he had no tackles today and an interception. You know what that tells me? I don't remember him giving up a big pass play. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody in the chat, or you, Akeem, correct me if I'm wrong. That means that either he was locking his guy down or they just weren't throwing at him. And he was on Xavier Worthy majority of the game. And when I was watching the replays, stride for stride, up and down the field with Xavier Worthy, who everybody knows the history of the Bills trading with the Chiefs. They drafted him. The Bills took Coleman. We all know the history of that. I could take it a step further, and we can look at the box scores for Xavier Worthy. He was targeted 7 times and had 3 receptions for 23 yards. No touchdowns.
And sticky coverage.
So what's your thoughts on it's a smaller sample size, but do you think that he's the guy long term now, rest of the season, get all the snaps at CB2?
Absolutely. I think he's the guy that should be going forward that you want to look at to get the majority of the snaps. Christian Benford and Maxwell Harrison is the best combination of corners the Buffalo Bills can put out on display for the Buffalo Bills defense. And along with Cole Bishop, the secondary, it looks more athletic. It looks faster and it looks more athletic with Maxwell Harrison and Cole Bishop out there. And now when it seems as if they made some adjustments on defense, it doesn't look like too many communication errors on the defensive side of the ball on the back end. It looks as if everybody is in sync and understands their 111 and understands what they got to do. And when it's like that, you don't have to think. And when you don't have to think, now you can play fast, free, physical football. And I think over the last couple of weeks, that's exactly what the Buffalo Bills put on display, because we was worried, right? We was talking about Taron Johnson going down. That's no good. Daquan Jones is hurt. Ed Oliver is hurt. A number of guys being hurt, and Patrick Mahomes, out of all people, take advantage of these type of situations. And that wasn't the case today. It looked like the Buffalo Bills was full strength on defense. You wouldn't notice that the Buffalo Bills had significant injuries on the defensive side of the ball today with the guys that played and was able to stay healthy. So excellent job overall from this defense. And again, hopefully these are building blocks going forward. Once again, we're going to have to find other answers to solve the problems for the injuries we do have, and hopefully we can find those answers to do so.
Third down defense. We've been talking about it for how long? All last year, the first 8 weeks of this year. Panthers game, I think we didn't even really pay attention too much because the game was out of hand. Chiefs were 3 for 13 on third down today. Now, yes, they did have that blip on that 4th and 17, but third down defense, I feel like, was an emphasis. And we talk about Sean McDermott and we talk about calling plays. And I feel like at some point he had to have had a conversation with Bobby Babich about, look, we are where we're at. The 2 games didn't look good against the Falcons and the Patriots. I'm going to call plays, and this is what we're going to do from here on out. And if it's anything like the 2023 Bills, obviously with a different cast of characters, I feel like Sean McDermott and his defensive IQ is going to be able to mask and his scheme is going to be able to mask some of the deficiencies that we may have in the back end. Now, we may see something different if Michael Hoyt's out, because he was a huge spark plug, and obviously Maxwell Hairston is a huge spark plug in the secondary. But what was your take on Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano today? You think that they made their presence known? Do you think it was great to have them back? Just kind of didn't really notice them too much? Like, what's your thoughts?
I noticed Terrell Bernard a little bit. I think they both had quiet games in terms of defensive guys and individual players that stood out. Those aren't the names that I would mention first, but I think they are vital to the Buffalo Bills defense. I think them being out there makes the Buffalo Bills defense as a whole better, and I love the leadership that I saw from Terrell Bernard today. And sometimes it's not about stats every game. Sometimes it's about your leadership. Sometimes it's about, having the communication straight. And I think that's something that was on display today better than I think what we saw most of most of the season that led up into today's game. The communication was great. I think everybody was on point in terms of understanding their assignment. And of course, when you have young guys out there, when you have, Cam Lewis out there, who's a depth player, role player, when you have Jamarcus Ingram out there, who's another role player, a young player, things are going to happen in terms of mistakes being made. But overall, I think they did an incredible job holding the fort down, especially with the type of injuries that we've had. So this is what I've been preaching about Sean McDermott all along, man. Do what got you hired. If we lose games, we should be losing games with our head coach,
right?
In my opinion, calling plays. Kyle Shanahan calls plays. Sean McVay calls plays. Mike McDonald of the Seattle Seahawks, the defensive coordinator, he calls plays. He's calling plays for a reason. And I think with Sean McDermott as the defensive coordinator calling plays, the Buffalo Bills are a much better football team. I know you want to oversee the rest of the football operations going forward. Hire an associate head coach for that.
Right.
Get your Anthony Lynn like Rex Ryan had. Right. As a head coach and call the plays going forward. Excellent job by him today.
I think too, we talked about communication, and I was harping on it during the bye week that it seemed like the defense was just kind of disjointed. Like, it seemed like the linebackers weren't putting guys in the right spot. The safety seemed like they were always out of position. And I had mentioned that, McDermott brought in these assistants, defensive line coach and another DB's coach, and they brought all these guys in. And I feel like the practice is part of where this communication needs to be figured out. Now, with McDermott calling plays, the last 2 weeks, we talked about Terrell Bernard. I feel like it doesn't look like he's putting himself in bad positions, and it feels like he's being more of a field general, which is fine. If that's who you are as the Mike linebacker, if that's who you are, you're getting the plays, you're relaying information. But I want Terrell Bernard to be the guy that's going to help everybody else be successful. We talked about Micah Hyde for so many years about how he would always, it seemed like pre-snap, was yelling to the DBs or linebackers saying, this is what's coming. I can see it because I have the IQ to understand the play awareness. And that's what we need from Terrell Bernard. We complained about Tremaine Edmonds for so many years about not making big splash plays, right? but he was always doing things that McDermott asked him to do that never got any credit, never showed up on the stat sheet. And I just feel like if he trusts Bernard to lead that team defensively, I feel like it's going to go a long ways, because I'll keep going back to 2023. Terrell Bernard was the best version that we've seen so far. And that's what I think we've gotten the last 2 weeks. Now, does he have some room for improvement? Yes, but I feel like the trajectory is nice. So let's talk about, how do you feel about the Bills and the wide receiver position? You kind of touched on it earlier, and I kind of want to talk about it because it's going to be a hot topic, because we have 48 hours until the trade deadline, less than 48 hours to the trade deadline. Does today's game do anything for the wide receiver position for Brandon Beane? Does he stick to his guns and say, we're good, we scored 28 against, the reigning AFC champs, we're good? Or does he still think that there's room for improvement in that wide receiver room? What's your thoughts? And then we could talk about defense here in a second.
I mean, I think it's tough just because of what transpired today. It is confirmed. Sean McDermott, during his press conference, did confirm that Michael Hoyt did indeed tear his Achilles, so he will be out for the duration of the season. So does that change things? Possibly. We're talking about a team today that I think that look really good. I think Joe Brady, once again, he didn't coach and call a perfect game, but he called a game where it left you encouraged, and now you're thinking like, okay, we was able to get first downs. We was able to throw the ball downfield. We was able to run the ball and be efficient. We was able to be unpredictable. We started running more play action. Joshua Palmer's still hurt. We could get him to come back, and who knows, right? So I think that's what the thought process could be. Now, is that a good or bad thing about winning this game, right? I think that's the thought process that could be for the Buffalo Bills going forward. Me personally, I would still go ahead and add that receiver. I would still go ahead and put my foot on the gas pedal and say, you know what? If we can get another guy in here, if we can get a Rashid Shaheed or a Chris Olave or a Jacoby Myers or Brandon Cooks or a guy in here that we think that could improve this team, I would go ahead and do so.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just getting the news confirming the news so that I can get on all of our social channels about Michael Hoyt. Let's talk about defensively. Well, actually, I'll ask you this. If we go out and get somebody, is there a difference maker? Is Jacoby Myers a difference maker for this offense? Is Rashid Shaheed a difference maker for this offense? If you had to pick, I know you're going to say Shaheed, but are those guys going to make an impact going forward? What's your thoughts?
I think they would help. How much do they move the needle? I'm not quite sure. I think they would help, even though I do believe a guy like Jacoby Myers, I think we have similar skill sets on the team like that already. Keon Coleman is not the greatest athletically tested player, just like Jacoby Myers. He's a 4'6", 40 guy himself. He's not the greatest of athletes himself. So I do think we have players that kind of match what Jacoby Myers already brings to the table. But I believe he is the polished version. He's the most polished version. He is the finished product. And because he's the finished product of that, I do indeed think he can be an upgrade. So overall, I wouldn't be thrilled with those guys in terms of obvious needle movers, but I do think they would upgrade the wide receiver room. I would rather a Shaheed or a Lave. I would rather a more explosive skill set at the position at the end of the day. But I think anyone would upgrade the wide receiver room.
What about defensively? Is it a tackle? Is it an end? I don't think they're going to go after anybody in the secondary now. There was word going around this week that the Bills were looking at safeties. So I don't know if McDermott says to Beane, I'm comfortable with Poyer, we can switch in Hancock if needed. Obviously, Taylor Rapp's out for the season. He had season-ending surgery. So what's your thoughts defensively? What does trading for something on defense look like? Is it a tackle? because Ed Oliver's out pretty much for the rest of the year. Now you lost Michael Hoyt for the rest of the year. Like, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I would definitely think that I would look to upgrade, any position where I feel like I can improve in. I would definitely call the New York Giants and see what's going on down there in terms of, I know they lost today to the San Francisco 49ers. I would see what Thibodeau is, if he's available. I would look into Dexter Lawrence. I would inquire about him and see if he's available. I wouldn't rule out the safety position. Cole Bishop is encouraging what we saw today, but if you can add somebody else to pair with Cole Bishop, that can be an upgrade. I do indeed think that can help as well. So I don't think safety position should be out of play, but defensive line, D line or D tackle, the edge or D tackle is something that can possibly be addressed as well. But again, we have guys like Daquan Jones that's coming back. We hope that TJ Sanders could come back. This is part of the reason why the Buffalo Bills got a influx in their defensive line position when they invested via free agency and in the draft. So hopefully those guys can come back and maybe they can be enough. So we'll definitely see what happens. There's a lot of interesting nuggets that have to be ironed out before that November 4th trade deadline.
Our guy Izzy wants to go bet the farm. Trey Hendrickson. All in. Screw them picks. All in.
I mean,
that would be an all-in move. That would be an all-in move.
Yeah.
I mean, he's making $29 million this year, and I think he's injured, isn't he? Isn't he injured right now?
I think he was out today. Jeffrey Simmons is another move that would be an all-in move for the Tennessee Titans. Yeah. Right, he was out today as well. So again, we'll see what happens.
All right. So anything else? Any other takeaways you got from the game today? Again, if you haven't smashed the like button, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment. If you're watching on Facebook, like, share, comment. You're watching on X, share, comment. That would help. That will support the brand the best. It's just if you could like and subscribe, that would help us out a ton. Any other words of wisdom from today's game? I'm going to go back here in a little bit and go on NFL Plus and watch the rewatch condensed version and just kind of see what's what, and then maybe take a look at the All-22 tomorrow. Man, that sucks about Michael Hoyt, though. Like that. Like, why can't we have nice things, Akeem? Why can't we have nice things?
Yeah, man, that sucks, man. It sucks. I wish we in a world we could have seen Ed Oliver and Michael Hoyt and these guys all together while Sean McDermott is calling plays. Right. That would have been the sight to see, and it's definitely unfortunate. But I see the vision now. Now that we've made adjustments, I definitely see the vision, man. And it's a great game today by the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, the guys that needed to step up, stepped up. Josh Allen, James Cook. I think the offensive line played well. Dalton Kincaid stepped up. Joey Bosa, besides that 4th and 17 when he could have just ran through the play and sacked Patrick Mahomes, I think he stepped up as well. A lot of encouraging play on both sides of the ball. So I'm gonna go back as well and watch all 22, watch the offense and defense, watch certain guys up close and see what they did throughout the course of the game, and maybe we can have further discussions throughout the course of the week. But great win nonetheless. 6-2 Buffalo Bills. We made some corrections and we saw those corrections put on display today in a positive light.
So hold on, before we get out of here, I like this comment. Show the All-22 of Keon. I can do that. I can pull that up and just get his routes. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on Keon Coleman? Because we talked yesterday about all the stuff that transpired with Steve Smith and his comments about the clips that I saw was Steve Smith initially breaking down a play where Keon ran an inside dig route, and he was looking at Josh the whole time, so he had no idea where the DB was. So when he caught the ball, his immediate instinct was to, I don't know if I'm going to get hit because I'm not paying attention to where the DB's at, instead of just hands and your head's on a swivel so you can make your next move. I didn't see the Bills trying to force the ball to Keon today. Do you think that was deliberate and the Bills had an approach this week in practice saying we're going to use Cook, Kincaid, Shakir, and everybody else can get things sprinkled in when we need to? What's your thoughts there?
Absolutely. I think that was absolutely the case. And you spoke about that play that Steve Smith talked about last week. I seen a similarity today where he caught a slant And I just feel that tackle was just like a soft tackle. I feel that if he was playing to his size, he definitely could have got more yards there, whether that was the lack of awareness and not knowing where the defensive back was on that particular play. But I think that's a reason why the Buffalo Bills should try to add. Now I know Joshua Palmer didn't play, but I think that's a reason why the Buffalo Bills should try to add to that position, the wide receiver position. And then when Joshua Palmer comes back, great, even more weapons to deal with for the opposition. So I think right now Keon Coleman has to be looked at as another guy, and if he's open in a particular play, then we get the ball to him. But as a feature guy, he shouldn't be looked at as a feature guy. He shouldn't be looked at as an everybody eats guy. I know that's the slogan. I know that's the culture, but it should be shifted to Cook, Shakir, Kincaid, and everybody else at this point for the regular season.
Our guy Robbie just texted me and said that the Josh Allen set our franchise record for completion percent in a game. So that's cool. We were talking about punt returner earlier. Why don't we just make Keon Coleman the punt returner? That's your job. Go in the practice room and go play with special teams, and you're a punt returner. And if that's, I mean, Steve Smith was a punt returner. It's ironic that Steve Smith's whole entire rookie season, he was a kickoff and punt returner. And that's where he excelled at. And then things happened, and they started putting him in running routes, and the rest is history. He's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. So I don't know. Maybe that's where maybe that's where they need to put Keon, and they go get another wide receiver. But I do like, and I forgot to mention this when we talked about when you brought up Elijah Moore. I feel like, and our guy Lance in our group chat saying maybe he's just getting a taste of the offense, and maybe this is why I keep struggling with they're not showing everything that Josh and Connor McGovern said the past couple of weeks, because they wanted to throw the ball to Elijah Moore as a 28-yard reception. It was a nice pass, great catch, and it was a big play at a good point in the game. So I don't know. Maybe there is some of that stuff that they still haven't, put out there. Maybe Brady just hasn't, maybe he just doesn't want to use Elijah Moore in that sense. And then when the time is right, maybe we just start unleashing deep passes to Elijah Moore. I don't know. I'm still stuck on this deep ball stuff. What's your thoughts?
It was great to see, and again, like, this is a production based business. Can you build upon that, or was this just a one-off? Right, this is a great game. We're going to talk about it in terms of being a successful game for Joe Brady and the Buffalo Bills offense. But next week we have another matchup against the Miami Dolphins. They're going to have to do it again, and then the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that. So, is this a one-off, or is this something that can be presented consistently within the offense in the Buffalo Bills passing game? And I think that is something that is going to have to be seen in the near future. Can we compound off the success we've had today in the passing offense and getting the ball downfield? Again, it wasn't a perfect game. I think there were still struggles where Josh Allen held on to the ball. He got sacked. Guys wasn't open. But can we build upon the success we did have and see if we can negate some of those negative plays?
I agree with you 100%. All right. As always, thank you guys for watching. This is the Built in Buffalo postgame. Akeem and myself will be back on Saturday to preview the Bills and Dolphins game. Thank you guys. There's a ton of videos on the channel. We got shorts coming out every day, so just stay tuned for all that good stuff. Akeem, as always, you want to take us out of here, man?
Yeah, Akeem Richards, DM3, Dave Myers, Built in Buffalo post-game show. The Buffalo Bills are victorious against the Kansas City Chiefs by the score of 28-21. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. Please continue to support the brand and everybody that's on it. Great shows that's going to be coming on throughout the week, and you're going to get a lot of great discussion breaking down the Buffalo Bills victory against the Kansas City Chiefs and looking ahead to the Miami Dolphins game this Sunday. So from Dave Myers, Akeem Richards, this is Built in Buffalo post-game show. Bills victorious and move to 6-2. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, go Bills.
Go Bills.